Collin Gillespie was one of the big storylines from the Suns' massive comeback win against the LA Clippers on Tuesday night. Played almost the entire fourth quarter, had 10 points, hit a couple of huge shots. Was a difference maker on the defensive side of the floor as well. And there he gets the kudos from head coach Mike Budenholzer. And the players were talking about him. Devin Booker talked about Collin Gillespie and what a great story it was and celebrating him in the locker room. So, and what we had talked about, you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to maintain that energy level. Why not just start Collin Gillespie at the point guard position? Well, that was the next logical question to Mike Budenholzer yesterday.
Can one quarter like that earn a player starting consideration?
I'd say no.
Why is everyone laughing?
Collin Gillespie's not laughing. We're not laughing.
Why is everyone laughing at that?
Well, with Bradley Beal questionable.
So what?
Do you put Tyus Jones back in the starting lineup again?
You can't.
When Tyus Jones didn't get on the floor in the fourth quarter of that game?
I know, yeah. You can't catch lightning in a bottle if you put the bottle in the garbage can.
You can't catch lightning in a bottle if you keep the cork in the bottle.
That too.
Maybe they're just putting it on the shelf when they really need it. And they grab it.
Look, and maybe it's a stretch to ask a basketball coach who's been trying to grow this team for months and months and months to do something like that, but it just seems so appropriate. And the idea that this is what we want, this is what we're going to reward.
Yeah.
Who knows? Now, it doesn't mean he's not. Maybe he was playing coy. Maybe he'll get a talking to.
Doesn't mean he's not going to get minutes. And,
No,
Mike Budenholzer did talk about that.
Every night's a little bit different, who's available, not available, but his impact on the game was huge. Him finding ways to get defensive boards, get his hands on things, fight through screens, communicate, finish in the basket. He just was a huge part of, I think a 20-plus, fourth quarter. So, certainly probably going to try and find ways to get him into the games. But, again, it's lots of time dictated by who's available.
A little hypocritical on my part, too, because I've always made the comment, doesn't matter who starts the game, it matters who finishes the game. So it just would have been a nice little feather in the cap for Collin.
Also a symbolic thing.
That's it.
We're going to start the game with some energy here, and we're going to reward the play that he gave us in that game.
Let's try to avoid digging out of a 20-point hole.
Yeah, and this is what we're going to now kind of feast on. And for a basketball team that has had a lot of stops and starts, and as J-Rod Cards from a longtime listener of ours, he pointed out, you guys, this is like an ex-girlfriend you can't put away, that you can't get away from. And he's right, because we keep going back to this well of hope, even though we've sworn it off many, many, many times. So why don't you take advantage of that Collin Gillespie element of it all?
Yes. J-Rod Cards, it's going to be better this time. I just know it.
Well,
New
listen.
hairstyle.
Exactly. So I hope KD continues to play with the edge that he's playing, because as more and more details come out from trade deadline, there is going to be the corollary that, man, what if KD would have just said okay to a trade? Now, and I respect why KD didn't want to go. Kevin Durant, when he heard that he was being traded, he probably went through a stage of disbelief, a stage of anger, and then he probably went through a stage of, okay, what's my next move? And he probably came to the realization that I'm going to need some time. I'm going to wait and see what comes out of this season in terms of everybody in the Western Conference, and I'm going to give it some real thought about where I want my last act to be. I'm not just going to say yes and then go to a place and then agree to extension. So I totally get why he did it. But we also know that some of the packages that were being reportedly being offered back to the Phoenix Suns are pretty tantalizing. Gambo had the package that was coming from the Golden State Warriors. That was Jonathan Kuminga, Jimmy Butler, and some draft picks. I was told by a very good source who claims to know that Timberwolves late gasp to get Kevin Durant,
which Brian Windhorst mentioned yesterday on
Brian
ESPN.
Windhorst reported yesterday, would have brought the Suns, ready for this, Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels. Couple of players the Suns badly need.
Any draft capital?
I don't know.
That?
I don't know. I don't know what else, but those were the two main pieces. And I got that from a source.
Between that and this
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I got that from a source that claims they know. So Jaden McDaniels, that long, great defensive stopper, and then Julius Randle, sort of a legit power forward.
Two guys that play with a little edge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that there's that, and that's not Kevin Durant's fault. And again, I respect what Kevin Durant did. If you're KD and you're a superstar, and you realize, oh snap, I'm not finishing my career in Phoenix. It's perfectly his right to be able to have some time to figure out where that next stop's going to be.
And people point to, okay, he already changed teams once upon a time, got traded at the deadline to Phoenix from Brooklyn, but it was a much different situation because that had been rumored for a year. It was very much orchestrated by Kevin Durant. He wanted to get to Phoenix. He was way more prepared for that situation when it actually did happen, as opposed to 3 days before the trade deadline, learning, you want to trade me where?
Yeah.
There was no preparation there. The Suns ran it by him. He shot it down. Here was the tidbit from Brian Windhorst yesterday.
Another small market team to watch, Minnesota Timberwolves, which Ant Edwards and KD, very tight connection, also from the Olympics. The Timberwolves tried to pull off a crazy trade at the deadline for KD. Look for them to revisit those talks this summer.
So those possibilities might not
those names
be dead.
might be there again for the Suns this summer. And I love Jaden McDaniels. I don't know what you think about him. Julius Randle, he has his moments.
My Julius Randle experience is reading about him is far different from me watching him play. Because all the stuff you read about him is negative. He doesn't fit here. He dribbles the hell out of the ball. He sucks the air out of the offense. And then you watch him play against the Suns.
And he kills him.
Yeah. And he looks like a mix between Charles Barkley and Karl Malone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Here's one other thing I wanted to play for you. This is Matt Barnes from the All the Smoke podcast, reflecting on the trade deadline actions of the Suns and how they affected Kevin Durant.
From the outside looking in, we knew you're bringing in 3 straight scorers, that wasn't going to work. And they wanted to move him at the deadline and possibly get Jimmy Butler. That didn't work. And then you throw KD's name in there, and now you got KD a little puzzled because he never knew, why am I being thrown in this when I didn't ask or no one talked to me about it. KD's got 1 year left. I'm not sure how much time Booker has left.
Yeah, puzzled is a good word, I think. That's probably I would bet that would be a word Kevin Durant would agree with.
Would subscribe to.
That he felt puzzled at the trade deadline.
Indeed.
When all of it transpired late.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.